reviews. Spider-Man. So the movie opens with a pretentious opening narration.
Who am I? You sure you want to know? If somebody said it was a happy little tale, somebody lied.
Wow, that was pretentious. This is quickly followed by Peter Parker running after the school bus that he missed. Wow, this is our hero? Is it too late to get someone else? Anyway, Peter is introduced to his best friend's father, Mr. Obvious Plot Device, who I'm sure will not be important to the plot at all later. And then we get some truly terrible high school stuff, so let's just skip ahead a bit to where he's bitten by the radioactive spider and gets superpowers. Peter gets bitten by a radioactive spider that escaped from a not-at-all secure cage, and instead of going to the hospital like a normal person, he goes home to sleep it off.
I don't feel well. I'm gonna go to sleep.
What? Isn't Peter supposed to be smart? That's a pretty dumb move for a smart kid. Didn't you just go home and sleep it off after you got bitten by a radioactive spider? Against my medical advice? Well, yes, but I'm not very smart, so that's fine. Meanwhile, Mr. Plot Device is testing his new invention, the Green Goblin Glider. Then he tests his new super soldier serum on himself and turns into the Green Goblin. Wow, what a shock! The Green Goblin is easily the best character in this movie. He provides just the right amount of hammy overacting. The next morning, Peter wakes up with perfect vision and spider-like reflexes. But despite that, he still somehow manages to miss the bus. And cue more horrible high school stuff, in which Peter beats up the school bully while hardly throwing a punch. Peter leaves school and immediately starts climbing up the side of a building, as you do. Later that night...
So where are you going after you graduate?
He's going into an other-dimensional prison to wait until he's let out at the battle at the end of the world, but that's not for several years yet. In the meantime, Peter suddenly decides that he needs money for a new car to impress MJ. And so he signs up for a boxing match with a $3,000 prize. But before he can enter the match, he's going to need a costume. And so he designs one, no doubt basing the design off of his favorite Spider-Man comic books. Which raises many questions. And then we get a training montage, combined with product placement. Spider can, does whatever a spider can. Maybe I should do a product placement training montage. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the great power and great responsibility speech.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Excellent. Uncle Ben has now completed his life's work. He can now die knowing that he did what he needed to do. Not that that's going to happen anytime soon. So Peter goes to the wrestling arena to fight this charming guy.
So is ready!
The distressity of the spaceship Hulk Hogan. And apparently no one told these people that professional wrestling is fake because they were actually going to kill him. But Oh well, Peter wins and goes to collect his winnings. But the guy cheats him out of almost all of it, and so Peter doesn't really see the need to intervene when the guy gets robbed. And then Uncle Ben is killed. And it's by the same guy that Peter let get away. Why? What possible motive could a robber have to kill some unarmed old guy who wasn't even aware that a robbery had taken place? There's no possible reason for that. But oh well, it's more dramatic that way. And really, if Spider-Man isn't pointlessly angsty about something, is he even really Spider-Man? But before Peter even has time to finish his emo moment, the Green Goblin attacks. So he's going to have to pull himself together and... oh wait, the scene is over. What was the point of that? We get a brief montage of Spider-Man saving the city. And then enter J. Jonah Jameson. He is not impressed with Spider-Man, but he does offer a cash reward for anyone who can provide a picture of Spider-Man. And so Peter decides to take pictures of himself while fighting crime. Which is not easy to do, even with a selfie stick. Meanwhile, the Green Goblin is fired from his company because the board demanded it.
The board expects your resignation in 30 days.
Well, you can't argue with the board. No! You can't do this to me!
Do not argue with the board. The board's rule is law.
Meanwhile, at the creepiest Macy's parade ever, the Green Goblin attacks, and Spider-Man has to save everyone, leading to this incredible sequence. Well, how about that? The Earth really is flat. Because it just deflated. Spider-Man defeats the Green Goblin, but the Green Goblin gets away while Spider-Man saves Mary Jane from falling to her death. Later that night, Norman Osborn is alone in his house when the voices in his head start talking to him. The Green Goblin tells Norman about how they killed the members of the board who fired him. It's very Gollum and Smeagol.
You killed them.
We killed them.
We?
Remember your little accident in the laboratory?
Meanwhile, in the Daily Bugle office, Peter is complaining to J. Jonah Jameson about his blatantly anti-Spider-Man policy.
Spider-Man wasn't attacking the city. He was trying to save it. That's slander.
No, it isn't. It's libel.
Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
I like this guy. But then the Green Goblin breaks in and kidnaps Spider-Man when he tries to save J. Jonah Jameson. And then the Green Goblin gives this rather incredible speech that basically amounts to either join with me and destroy the world together, or destroy the world by accident by doing battle with me and killing everyone through collateral damage. Which is quite a choice to have to make. But it is about time that a superhero movie acknowledged that dichotomy. The Green Goblin lets Peter go to consider his offer. And he immediately has to rescue Mary Jane again, because she only exists to advance his story. The next morning, Spider-Man rescues a baby from a burning building, but then he hears a scream coming from the building, and so he goes back in to save whoever's still up there. But it's a trap! So Peter and the Green Goblin fight for a bit, and then stop. This movie would be a lot shorter if they would actually finish a fight. The next morning, it's apparently Thanksgiving, which makes sense given the Thanksgiving parade earlier. And for some reason, Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, has been invited to dinner with Peter.
I'm sorry I'm late. Work was murder.
It's funny because he's a serial killer. So murder is literally his work. So Norman figures out that Peter is Spider-Man because Peter is bleeding. And apparently only Spider-Man bleeds? Makes sense to me. So, anyway, Norman makes a hasty getaway.
Something has come to my attention. Enjoy the fruitcake.
Just act natural. Say something that some human has definitely said before.
Enjoy the fruitcake.
Damn it! That's something that no human has ever said before.
we get another Smeagol Gollum scene.
Tell me how!
The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
Though it's not quite as good as the first one. Talking to his reflection in the mirror is creepy and unsettling. Talking to the mask is just kind of cheesy. Later that night, Aunt May is saying her bedtime prayers when a flying demon breaks into her bedroom, and she ends up in the hospital, presumably from a heart attack.
You do too much. You're not Superman, you know.
Well, he thinks he is. Peter figures out that the Green Goblin knows that he's in love with MJ, and he tries to warn her, but the Green Goblin has already kidnapped her, bringing her kidnapping count to, 12? The Green Goblin drops Mary Jane and a cable car off of a bridge, so that Spider-Man has to choose which one to save, since he can't possibly save both.
This is the choice. This is the point of no return.
Oh no! How will he ever choose which one to save? Oh, he just saves both. Wasn't it explicitly stated that that wasn't an option? Peter safely drops the cable car onto a passing garbage scow, and then the Green Goblin drags him off for a beatdown. So, after a lot of pointless fighting, the Green Goblin ends up getting impaled on his own goblin glider. And so, the movie ends with Peter's best friend vowing vengeance against Spider-Man. Awkward. So that was Spider-Man. How was it? I remember this being the first superhero movie that I ever saw in theaters, and I remember really liking it as a kid. So, I was curious to go back and take another look at it and see how well it holds up. And it still holds up surprisingly well. Some of the effects are pretty dated, and most of the acting is pretty flat, aside from the Green Goblin's performance, of course. But for the most part, the movie still looks pretty good, and it definitely knows how to do more with less. Well, that's all for now. Until next time, here's your kid-friendly clip of the day.
Ooh, Spider can. Spider can, does whatever a spider can. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a can. Look out. He is the Spider Can. Spider can, does whatever a spider can.
No! I will not help you!
You will free me from this prison.
I wouldn't even know how!
The wand, Crowforest. You must use the wand.